Here's more wrestling news for March 9th, 2022. And your headlines for this afternoon include Brock Lesnar's plans for WWE MSG show were changed several times, original opponent revealed. Dolph Ziggler wins NXT title at Roadblock. AEW Revolution title match changed multiple times before event. Triple H gave 4 released WWE superstars creative freedom, causing backstage jealousy. Sting warns younger talents not to be lazy in the ring. Shane McMahon's original WrestleMania opponent revealed. Tony Khan responds to Chavo Guerrero being upset about removal from AEW roster. Peacock official provides an update on John Cena's new WWE series. Finn Balor says he questions whether Money Wrestling is worth the sacrifices he makes. Ronda Rousey received the highest ratio of hate on Twitter of any female athlete, and more. We are starting off with last week's WWE live event from Madison Square Garden, which featured a rare, untelevised appearance by Brock Lesnar. The WWE champion was initially meant to defend against Bobby Lashley, but after he was pulled from the show, rumors circulated about who Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman had chosen for the Beast Incarnate. In the end, their choice was Austin Theory, which severely disappointed fans in MSG, many of whom had convinced themselves that Cody Rhodes was about to return. We now know more about the match, and although Cody was never going to return to WWE this way, WWE had some pretty big names in their plans. Wade Keller of PW Torch reports that Big E, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins were all considered as possible opponents, and for Rollins, this would have been his second title match of the night after challenging the Tribal Chief. Kevin Dunn and Bruce Pritchard initially chose McIntyre, setting up a WrestleMania 36 rematch, with the planned finish seeing Reigns attack Brock, causing the DQ. The card was finalized backstage until Vince McMahon changed his mind, and it was the chairman alone who selected Theory for the match, which angered fans. While Austin Theory has proven himself to be a capable hand in the ring and seems destined for a big push one day, many felt let down by MSG's main event, which, like many big decisions, was decided by the chairman and the chairman alone. Since relaunching as NXT 2.0 in September 2021, WWE's developmental brand has seen an influx of guest stars, with Mandy Rose and AJ Styles both making their presence felt on the show. Most recently, Dolph Ziggler appeared at NXT 2.0, and now the show-off is once again a world champion. At Roadblock, Braun Breaker defended the NXT title against Ziggler and Tommaso Ciampa, and thanks to some interference by Robert Roode, Ziggler was able to get the pinfall and the title. Ziggler pinned Ciampa to win the title, infuriating the former champion, and odds are that Breaker will get another shot at NXT Stand and Deliver. This is Ziggler's first singles title in over 4 years and his first world championship in 9, and NXT 2.0 is now the show-off's house. Over to AEW as last weekend's Revolution pay-per-view saw a stellar title defense between Women's World Champion Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, but what fans saw wasn't always the plan. Fightful reports that the ending of the match underwent several changes in the weeks leading up to the show, but no explanation as to what changes were made to the bout. It's speculated that AEW is setting up a rematch for their St. Patrick's Day Slam show, which will air on next week's edition of Dynamite from Rosa's hometown in San Antonio, Texas. Perhaps AEW is waiting for the hometown crowd before they give Rosa her biggest win and the AEW Women's World Championship, but we'll only know for sure after next week's Dynamite has aired. On November 4th last year, B-Fab was released from her WWE contract and was followed by the rest of Hit Row 2 weeks later. The group had been called up to the main roster mere weeks before they departed, but it seems that their call-up came after some issues developed in NXT. On the Public Enemies podcast, an appropriate name for this interview, AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar, said that some superstars had grown to dislike the group because they were given creative freedom. That creative freedom came from none other than NXT's head at the time, Triple H, and Francis said how people would be salty that they didn't get that kind of freedom despite being in NXT for much longer. Triple H reportedly told producers to not write any scripts for Hit Row, in stark contrast to the vast majority of superstars who have to recite pre-written promos word for word. Ultimately, this creative freedom wasn't enough to save Hit Row from being released mere weeks after they were called up to SmackDown, and with Triple H no longer in charge of NXT, now NXT 2.0, don't expect any other young names on the paint-splattered roster to get this kind of creative freedom. At AEW Revolution 2022, Sting competed in a massive six-man tag team match and proved that even at 62, the Icon has still got it. Teaming with Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, the trio defeated the Andrade Hardy Family Office, and the match saw the Stinger take a crazy balcony dive through 3 tables. Speaking on the post-show media scrum, Sting offered some advice to the younger talent in AEW, saying, "I've seen so many loose cannons over the years, so many people that believe they can break into the wrestling business easy if they just dye their hair or come up with some kind of crazy gimmick. I'll tell them all pretty much the same thing. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. Learn first, keep your mouth shut, just learn how to respect the business and everyone who came before you. Don't ever dog it out there. Wrestling fans will look right through that. They know when someone's just kind of going through the motions versus somebody who's thinking about how their wrestling gear looks, what their physique looks like, and they're giving it their all in the ring because they're putting it out there. They're taking risks, fans see that, and they greatly appreciate it." With their feud with the Andrade Hardy Family Office seemingly over, it remains to be seen what Sting and Darby Allin do next, but after last weekend's insane performance by the WCW legend, don't be surprised if the popular duo have tag team gold in their sights. At the 2022 Royal Rumble, Shane McMahon made his on-screen return, but his latest comeback lasted just days before he was released. Cut from the company after a series of backstage incidents at the Rumble, all future plans for Shane had to be scrapped, including plans for WrestleMania 38. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed reports that Shane was meant to face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which had been rumored at the time of McMahon's release. McMahon was reportedly furious when WWE decided not to include Rollins in the Men's Royal Rumble, as he had hoped that the January event would mark the start of their feud for Mania. Meltzer joked that WWE may need to give Shane a call back as Rollins is still without anything to do next month, and there's no word on if WWE have any plans for the former Universal Champion. Whatever WWE might have planned for Rollins, they're keeping quiet about it, and while the Architect is too big a star to not have a match at WrestleMania, it won't be against Shane McMahon as originally planned. Or from AEW as recently, Chavo Guerrero was removed from the company's website roster, an action that Chavo was given no heads up about. Since then, the former ECW champion has questioned how much Tony Khan's word is worth, as Guerrero was promised he could always come back to AEW after he finished being a wrestling coordinator on the newest season of Young Rock. Chavo doesn't believe Tony Khan's word anymore, and now Khan has given his side of the story. Speaking on the post-Revolution scrum, Khan said he only missed one phone call from Guerrero, refuting Guerrero's claim that he called him several times to contact him. Khan added, "I don't want to say how much he got paid to be the stunt coordinator for Young Rock, but he got paid a huge amount of money. He asked if he could take time off and leave, and I said he was not under contract. He was on a weekly deal. I said, I would love to have you back, and I do like you a lot, and you did a great thing. We will make our plans going forward without him here." Khan went on to say that AEW has done a lot of big things since Chavo was written off TV last September, but promised that he will call the veteran wrestler, adding, "It was kind of a busy week when he called, as we have a show every day. Wednesday we did Dynamite and Elevation, then we shot Dark in Orlando, and then we shot Rampage live. To be fair, when Chavo was here, all of this was crammed on Wednesday, so maybe he didn't know I had such a busy week." It remains to be seen if Chavo and Khan's relationship can be fixed, but for now, the AEW president is willing to try and get in touch with Guerrero to sort this whole thing out. Back to WWE, as each year John Cena gets less and less available, with his career as an actor outside the wrestling world continuing to grow. John isn't completely gone from WWE though, as he'll be closely involved in the upcoming series WWE Evil, and more details have been revealed about this project. Speaking to Vulture, Peacock's president Kelly Campbell said she's super excited for the new show, which will see Cena bring a fun new take on WWE's most iconic heels. Campbell also praised WWE, saying her company and Vince McMahon's promotion have had an incredibly successful partnership, which shows no sign of slowing down. Cena isn't scheduled to be at WrestleMania 38, but he'll soon be appearing for WWE Evil, as ironically it'll be one of wrestling's most unshakable babyfaces who will tell all about the industry's greatest monsters. In 2014, Finn Balor joined WWE after becoming one of the hottest commodities across the world. Balor's career in WWE has had its share of ups and downs, but as a former world champion and reigning United States champion, it's safe to say that the Prince is on one lucrative contract. Money isn't everything, however, as during an appearance on After the Bell, Balor discussed the pitfalls of being a wrestler and how it often doesn't feel like it's worth what he's gone through. The money is not that good for the amount of pain we go through and being away from my family for 20 years. I wrestle with myself the whole time as to, hey, is this money worth being away from Ireland? In 10 years' time, when my family, people start to pass, my friends move on, is the money going to be worth the sacrifice that I've given up? The US champion went on to say that he has 12 nieces and nephews, but they don't know him as Uncle Fergal Devitt, but only as the Finn Balor character they see on TV. Balor has given some of the best years of his life to pro wrestling and has had his fair share of injuries, but it's missing out on his family that hurts the Prince more than any physical setback. And we're ending today with Ronda Rousey, who returned to WWE earlier this year, but fans weren't exactly thrilled to see her back, with many believing she's taking a spot from a more deserving full-time superstar. It doesn't help that Rousey was a heel when she left WWE in 2019, and although WWE positioned her as a babyface this time, it hasn't won over people online. A recent study commissioned by Bonus Finder found that Rousey receives more hate than any other female athlete, with a whopping 83.1% of tweets sent to the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble winner being of a negative nature. While Becky Lynch received more negative tweets in total, she also received more positive tweets than Rousey and has a 76.19 negativity rate. Olympic gymnast Simone Biles has the most replies with 14,077, but only 65.11% of these were negative. It's always worth considering that, unlike Biles, WWE superstars often deliberately portray villains on screen, which will influence how much hate they receive. But right now, the woman WWE wants as SmackDown's next top female babyface isn't feeling the love online. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.